in today's video, I'm going to cover BlackBerry stock because they had their earnings today in terms of Q1 fiscal year 2025 results for June 26, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to do year-over-year comparison, quarter-over-quarter comparison, plus look at the forward outlook for Q2 as well. This is just going to be a quick video. I'm still going to be listening or rewatching the earnings conference call and yesterday's annual meeting. You could rewatch both of those. They'll pop up right about now, but I'm going to rewatch them and then have the video out most likely Monday, maybe Tuesday, in terms of recap. But overall, pretty decent earnings beat, so on and so forth. And to look at the street estimates, in terms of earnings estimates, average is about negative 0.04 cents. And then average revenue estimates are coming in at $134 million. Now, the forecast that BlackBerry gave earlier last quarter, which was on April 3rd, 2024, for the full fiscal year results and the Q4 results for like last fiscal year, the forecast they had was between 130 to 138 million, which is that street estimates about 134 million, so in between. And they ended up actually having 144 million. So they beat street estimates, they beat their guidance as well. And then did they have year-over-year beat, quarter-over-quarter beat? If we look at last year's same quarter, it's 373 million. Now, the reason why I'm showing 373 million is because they sold their patents last year and they got a big chunk. So if you take the 373 minus 235, you have 138 million. And 138 million, yes, technically should add some licensing, but if you have 144 with 138, you technically have year-over-year beat. But if you add, let's just say for licensing 6 million, then you're pretty much flat. So almost year-over-year flat potentially, but it depends on how you see it. And so there's that. So technically either year-over-year beat or flat for year-over-year if you add the same licensing of 6 million that we got this quarter. So again, this quarter 6 million, and then quarter-over-quarter. Last quarter we did pretty well actually, so we got 173 million, so we have quarter-over-quarter decrease, so that's the unfortunate part, but again, it is seasonal somewhat, so there is that downfall. Now for the rest of the report, I'm going to quickly read it off first and then do comparisons for IoT and cybersecurity, and then I'm going to show if they're profitable or not. So total company non-GAAP and GAAP gross margin was 67%. IoT revenue grew 18% year-over-year and exceeded previously provided guidance at 53 million. IoT gross margin was 81%. Cybersecurity exceeded previously provided guidance at 85 million. Cybersecurity gross margin was 59%. Cybersecurity AR increased by 2% sequentially to 285 million. DNRR increases sequentially for third consecutive quarter to 87%. Licensing and other revenue was 6 million. Non-GAAP operating loss was 12 million, and GAAP operating loss was 39 million. Non-GAAP basic loss per share beat the previously provided guidance at 0.03 cents, and GAAP basic loss per share was 7 cents. Adjusted EBITDA was negative 7 million. Total cash equivalent, short-term and long-term investments was 283 million. Operating cash usage was sequentially flat at 15 million, while free cash usage decreased sequentially for the third consecutive quarter to 16 million. Now, in terms of being, and I'm going to go over the forecast soon, in terms of being positive or profitable or loss for this quarter, basically, you can see right here in the rest of the report. So revenue came in at 144 million like they reported. Cost of sales was 48 million. Gross margin between the two is 96 million, give or take. Operating expenses was 135 million. Investment income net is 5 million. So they lost this quarter about 34 million, give or take. So lost before income taxes, 34 million. Now, the thing is, though, in terms of the comparisons, before I get to the forecast for the next quarter, if we look at the IoT division, the IoT division got about 53 million. And if we look at last year's same quarter, again, June 28, 2023, 45 million. So they have a year-over-year growth for IoT, so that's good. It's still growing. Last quarter, so Q4, they got 66 million. So it's quarter-over-quarter decline, but year-over-year growth. And then for the cybersecurity side, they got, actually, let me just go over the guidance as well. So the guidance that they had for IoT that they gave was 48 to 53 million. So they did beat their total revenue guidance, and then they beat their IoT revenue guidance as well. So that is pretty good. And then the next guidance they gave was 78 to 82 million for cybersecurity, and they ended up getting to 85 million. So they beat their cybersecurity guidance as well. Now, in terms of year-over-year growth, they did not have it. So 93 million was last year, and again, they got 85 million. So it's year-over-year decline. And then last quarter, it was where it was right about here. Last quarter, they got about 92 million. So it is a quarter-over-quarter decline. So quarter-over-quarter decline, year-over-year decline, unfortunately, for cybersecurity. And in terms of licensing is sporadic, so I don't really want to go over it. But there was one thing that was noted that I don't really have to wait until Monday or Tuesday to state. I was expecting potentially that they might either get a portion of the patent sales. Now, it is supposed to be sporadic. John Chen, last CEO of BlackBerry, stated that the chunk that we got last year, same quarter, was going to be the biggest chunk, and then later on it'll be like smaller chunks and so on and so forth, and unknown when exactly they'll come, because the deal was either sometime between 7 years will be paid out and a total of up to $900 million. But they stated that they're not expecting payments this year, fiscal year, but it looks like next fiscal year they'll get potentially a decent chunk, it seems like. So there's that. Again, this quarter we only got $6 million for licensing and other revenue, but it seems like there was no portion of the patent sale payment at all within this licensing and other revenue. So there's that. Now, in terms of forecast for Q2, total company BlackBerry revenue is expected to come in at 136 to 144 million. IoT revenue is 50 to 54 million. Cybersecurity revenue 82 to 86 million. Licensing and other revenue approximately 4 million. Adjusted EBITDA of 5 to 15 million, and non-GAAP basic earnings per share of 2 cents to 4 cents. Now, their full fiscal year guidance has been unchanged. So when they had their Q4 versus now, the guidance has not changed at all whatsoever. Let me double check. Yeah, nothing has changed. So they're keeping their same guidance. But it seems like more of the case that so far it seems pretty good, like the earnings is good, but it's more pointing to the fact that I was thinking earlier, where personally I'm giving them until July next year. But they keep saying that at the end of this fiscal year, which is Q4, which will be reported on March of 2025, that they're expecting to be cash flow positive on both divisions, cybersecurity and IoT, which should be good. But I'm giving them one more quarter, in my opinion, in terms of seeing the reflection in terms of share price. I'm not saying for them to be cash flow positive. I'm expecting them to hopefully hit it by that quarter, so Q4, March of 2025. But I'm expecting that in terms of share price to start climbing, and everybody, like the market, start actually recognizing BlackBerry in terms of it is being cash flow positive, revenues climbing, so on and so forth, and it'll be reflected in share price around July of 2025. The reason I'm giving July is so that way Q1 gets reported in June, and then in a way July should be a sufficient amount of time. But that's just my personal opinion. And one thing to note always, this is all just my opinion, so please do your own due diligence and research before buying and selling. I'm not a professional. And I do own shares in the company too. Hopefully you stuck around long enough to hear that part of the video as well. Thanks again for watching. I appreciate it. And I'll keep you guys posted on Monday or Tuesday in terms of the review for the earnings conference call and then annual meeting as well. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.